My name is Loren Griffith. I'm the Director of International Strategy here at the university. I've had the pleasure of meeting a number of you already. Let me extend a special warm welcome to those of you who have traveled a long way, whether it's from the west coast of the United States or deep in China to be here, or even those who have come from London. So we're really privileged to have people from Peking University, from the embassy in London, from the National Museum of China, from the European Commission. This should be a terrific event. And it's a real pleasure for me to take part in it because I don't often get the pleasure of taking direct part in an academic workshop. But Heather and I have been, Dawn and I have been working on this for some years together. She, of course, has been driving it, and I've been pitching up when she's asked me to. And so it's really nice to be part of this next step in the continuation of the Digital Cultural Heritage program at Oxford. I am not an expert in digital cultural heritage. My role is to support the university in the development of international links across a wide range of areas. But I do want to say something about the role of digital cultural heritage and China in the university's strategy to try to put all of this in some context. This is an important topic and one that Oxford has cared deeply about for a long time. Digital cultural heritage is a prime example of the kind of work we want to be doing, the kind of work that we think we need to be doing, and the kind of work that we think we're distinctively placed to undertake. First, cultural heritage, generally speaking, is something that the university thinks it has a special role in preserving, in unearthing it, and preserving it, and understanding it, in curating it, and in bringing it to the public. We've done that for a long time through the Ashmolean and the Bodleian Library. The Ashmolean is the first public museum in this country. A great example from the Bodleian is the Selden map, a map of China that places it in the context of East Asia and Southeast Asia, including shipping routes, that was given to the Bodleian in 1659 and sat in relative obscurity for almost 4 centuries until someone in just 2008 discovered its significance. And now, not only is it digitized, but it's also been traveling the world, reaching new audiences. And preserving cultural heritage, as that example illustrates, is best done by institutions with a long time horizon. And Oxford is a good example of that, as one of the most enduring universities in the world. And of course, a collaboration between Oxford and China, one of the world's most enduring civilizations, is therefore entirely natural. Cultural heritage is also not just a matter of scholarly concern, but it's a matter of general public interest because it connects people with each other across the world and across time, connects people with the past. It gives them a sense of where they stand with respect to the future as well. The second reason that Oxford is excited about this project is that much of the most exciting work in cultural heritage entails moving fluidly across boundaries. And I mean boundaries in a number of ways. Across sectors and across disciplines, and this event reflects that breadth. If you look around the room, you'll see people from academia, from museums, from government, from business, and also people from China, from the UK, and people from very different disciplines: classicists, technology people, business people, curators. And that kind of openness and interdisciplinarity are absolutely core to what the university is trying to do these days. Our strategic plan focuses us on deepening links with organizations outside the academy. Check, we're doing that here over these couple of days. On bringing people together across traditional disciplinary boundaries. Check, we're doing that. And we're moving barriers to the smooth flow of ideas into and out of the university. Again, check. Third reason why we're excited about this work is the focus on digitization in particular. Because digitization brings treasures within reach of people who otherwise might not be able to see them. This often happens through images, but it can happen in other creative ways as well. I think, for example, of the British Museum's recent series, The History of the World in 100 Objects, which I was totally riveted by, a series of 15-minute podcasts that included, memorably for me at least, the Chinese Tang tomb figures from the 8th century, which I still have not seen. I haven't actually made it to the British Museum since listening to that, but they burn brightly in my mind from the podcast that I've listened to about them. And this is important to Oxford as well. We believe we're a world leader in the digitization of our collections. So we're not into MOOCs, but we are into digitization of our treasures. And the Digital Humanities Project brings many of these things together, web-based materials from across the university. And we think there's more activity in the digital humanities at Oxford than any other UK university. More generally, digitization is a powerful democratizing and unifying force, because when Oxford or the Chinese National Library or Peking University put an object up for anyone to access digitally, then it allows not just elites who are physically present in those places to access them, but anybody with a decent internet connection. The fourth reason why this particular event is exciting for us is its focus on China. So I've talked about the cultural heritage side and the digitization side, but China is also, as you would expect, enormously important to the university. Let me just say a bit about the ways in which that's true. First of all, it's been true for a very long time. The Bodleian Library received its first Chinese manuscripts early in the 17th century, but my understanding is that for almost 100 years, there was no one at the library who could read them. They actually didn't know which way the manuscript went or which way the characters were to be read. But in 1687, the university received its first Chinese visitor, a man named Shen Fuzhong, who helped to understand and translate these early manuscripts. So Oxford's been privileged to preserve bits of cultural heritage from China for more than 400 years, and it has had visitors from China for more than 300. We've been studying China in a focused way for a long time as well. We've had a professorship of Chinese since 1876. And we've recognized the importance of being in China long before many other universities thought about that. The Oxford University Press is one of the ways that people across the world first come to know the university. There may be people in this room whose first contact with the English language was through Oxford University Press materials. And OUP has been in China for about 100 years in Shanghai. And more recently, we've added other offices, a university representative office, a technology transfer office, a medical research office. So we're permanently engaged in China in a number of different activities. I'm not aware of any university with a greater breadth of activity in China and with China than Oxford. And of course, China has an important presence here on campus. We're in the middle of this beautiful China Center. The director, Rana Mitter, will be joining us tomorrow. He unfortunately was unable to make it today. But this center, opened just a year ago, brings together scholars with a focus on China from many disciplines. More than 80 people are affiliated with it. And it's to foster innovative, collaborative projects and ensure that Oxford's research on China produces even more substantial impact both domestically and abroad. As I mentioned, this building is just a year old. It was opened with a lovely ceremony attended by Prince William and the Chinese ambassador. And today, the presence of people from China at Oxford is very great. I think it's fair to say that only the United States is more represented at Oxford than China. There are 195 Chinese nationals on our academic staff, a number that's more than doubled in recent years. There are 983 students. I expect next year we will crest 1,000 students from China. And that's up from less than 100 15 years ago. So it's almost tenfold what it was just before the turn of the century. That has resulted in a fantastic alumni base in China, more than 4,000 Oxonians in China, and has also supported a great deal of joint research work with China. I've mentioned a bit of this. There's substantial work on cultural heritage, of which this project is a terrific example. There's work on the Chinese economy and society, the role of family-owned businesses, and Chinese health policy. And there's an incredible amount, in particular, of medical research, not least of which is a 500,000 person study stretching for 15 years to look at the genetic and environmental causes of different health outcomes, which we're running through a long-term presence in China. So there are lots of ways in which the study of China and engagement with China have been important to the university for a long time, and we're going from strength to strength. So this is an exciting project that marries the very old with the very new, and in the context of a university relationship with China that is among our great sources of pride. Before I hand over to Donna, let me just say a brief word about her, because she's been driving this project for years. She came to Oxford some decades ago as a Marshall Scholar, which is a big deal, by the way, and is a classicist who is initially focused on Greek art, but it's really in the digitization of collections that she has made much of her career. She's been doing it since 1979, when she worked on one of the first large data sets of classical art, the Classical Art Research Center, and more recently has been a pioneer in putting cultural heritage online through Claros, the Classical Art Research online services. She is today a research fellow of the Oxford E-Research Center and also of the Oxford Internet Institute, and she really exemplifies the kind of interdisciplinary, publicly engaged, entrepreneurial work that we're so excited about promoting at the university today. So welcome. I hope you have a great couple of days, and let me hand over to Donna.